Hi, everybody. This is Underground Noise. This is Alex, and I'm here with Tony Koehl. He's a very well-known artist for a lot of death metal bands, such as Internal Suffering, to name one, Inherent Disease, Blasphemous Creation, and a bunch of others. And he's also the drummer for Fishing for Neptune, and they just released their debut album, Get Hooked. Welcome, Tony. Thanks for your
Hey,
time.
thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me on. Just a quick, I never worked with inherent disease, but good friends with them for sure. I never had the
Okay.
privilege of working with those guys just to double check. Someone's like, hey, you never worked with those guys. So, but I worked with a
Okay.
ton of hundreds of other bands, trust me. So, yeah, man, it's good to be on here, buddy. Good to see you
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. You too. So, what can you tell me about Fishing for Neptune for those people that don't know about your
Oh,
band?
okay. Well, Fishing for Neptune started with me and my oldest best friend, my buddy Mikey Harriman. I've known since third grade. So history goes about, I've always wanted to play drums. I never was able to play drums because, it's just loud. One, it's expensive. Two, it's loud. And no parent wants to hear their kid, drumming, 24 hours a day, which I would have done if I had the opportunity to do so. But I'm glad that I just worked on doing artwork first. So I want to get that as a career. And so it came about, my buddy Mikey, after high school, I went to college, he worked and stuff like that, but we were best friends. We hung out all the time. And so as I noticed, we were kind of growing apart, because as you do, you get girlfriends and eventually families and stuff like that. And so I always wanted to hang out with him, and he was in a band. His first group that I know, he was in a hip hop group called Satiated Minds, which didn't last very long. And then him and his brother were in a band called Longfish. But in high school, I used to jam his personal songs. So I always really loved his songs. So I had like a little xylophone, and I'd go to his house, had an acoustic guitar, and we would just goof around. I'm like, oh, your songs are super fun. And so when he was in this band Longfish, I realized that he wasn't really singing any of his songs. He just kind of like collaborated with everybody else, which was cool. But I was like, oh man, I really like your jams. And so Danny Pagellum was the drummer in Longfish, and he was a good friend of mine too. And so I'd hit him up and say, hey man, if because they had a little place in Covina that they would rent out for band practice. I'm like, hey, would it be okay if I play on your drums? I get Mikey warmed up right before you guys get there, so he was all ready to go, and me and him can kind of mess around a little bit, and once again, it gave me an opportunity. I should play drums. And so my buddy Danny's had no problem, so on and so forth. So I would go periodically when my buddy Mikey had the time to go play. And then eventually what ended up happening is that band broke up, and it's because we would just play Mikey songs, right? Because Mikey songs were easier. I just connected more to his jams. And so, that band broke up, and he was bummed out. Still had the recording or the jam spot. And at the time, him and his wife now, his girlfriend at the time, they're having a little bit of a little rough patch. And so I told him, hey, if I got a drum set, would you still want to continue what we were doing? And he's like, yeah, that'd be cool. So I hit up my buddy Danny. I was like, hey man, once again, I know nothing about drums, and could you help me? Here's my budget. I trust you. I don't really care what kind of drums I get, man. I just want something that sounds good, nothing too expensive. I'm just starting out. I don't need nothing crazy. And so he found me one, and we went down there, we grabbed it, came back in the studio, and then we just started playing. And then after a while, his brother joined. And so then we needed a bass player. And then I couldn't tell you how many bass players we've gone through, well over 20. And then, so fast forward, a few years later, they eventually got their own recording studio, which was called Slatstown Studios in Monrovia. And so we had our own recording studio. And it's over the years when we had that, we eventually slowly just recorded all our songs. And then we finally got our bass player now, Patrick, and he was the one, like everything this guy played, we all loved, like just the way his grooves are. Because we're very open in our music. We're not like, these are our songs, but we always definitely, you can play your bass lines if you have anything you want to add to it, please, feel free. This is a democracy in our band. We never really get too hung up on stuff. We're very flexible. We want everybody to enjoy themselves. Like the point of being in this group is to have fun. We're not going to be going on tour around the world. We just, I just wanted something where I can hang out with one of my best friends on a weekly. I can now learn and have a reason to learn drums, because before, like, if I don't have anybody to play with, like, not saying what's the point, but really what's the point? Like, I'm a grown man, I got kids. I can't just be playing drums and then try to make bands. And, like, for me, that's gone. Like, those moments are gone. But I can play with one of my best friends that I love very much, and I just love his stuff. And so Mike and Paul were extremely patient with me, trying to learn how to play drums and to be on time. And so I had, and I learned in 2007 is when I actually learned how to play a drum kit. But I've always played percussions and stuff like that. And so right away, I like the metronome was like my best friend. I'm like, I have to, as a musician, I have to catch up to these guys. They've been playing their entire lives. So, I bought like this is really before like the YouTube videos and all the stuff. I bought DVDs, how to play drums, and, I got the books and rudiments. I had friends that were drummers, so they would give me some pointers. And then, and I'll just make friends wherever I go. I had a million questions about drums. Like, when I got into it, I didn't realize that there were so many different types of woods, different types of cymbals, different types of heads, different types of everything's different. Just my own ignorance walking into it, I was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. So I met a few friends at Guitar Center. My buddy Eric Campos, he's my first drum buddy I met, and like, I didn't even know how to tune a snare at the time, or drum. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so I'd go bring my stuff in, and he was really patient with me. And so I had a lot of friends along the way helping me out. And then, we eventually found Patrick, and we got all the songs dialed in. We had a couple people they wanted to mix and master. Mike has Todd Burke, I think his name is. He's worked with Jack Johnson, some other big name people, and Mike really wanted to work with him. I'm like, yeah, man, go ahead. I trust you. You have a better ear anyways on how the music's going to be. I'm just a drummer and do the art. So we went through Todd, and then we had the album finished, and then I got in a car accident last year. And I didn't get the album done. So I was sitting there in the hospital. First thing I thought of, I'm like, of course, all this work and time, I almost died in a car accident, not even having the album cover done. So then, and so I got out of the hospital, and then shortly thereafter, COVID hit, and which was a blessing in disguise for me, because it actually slowed everything down on my end, not doing festivals. I do a lot of festivals throughout the year since like 2003. So I do like a lot of death metal festivals, transformative festivals, any music festival I try to be a part of to spread my art, because it's difficult to do, just on the internet, because you're competing with, thousands of phenomenal artists around. So I like to be there in the flesh, and so people can actually look at my work and talk to me, and, I can do the spiel. So the album was already done, already recorded, and then I had enough time to actually do the album cover, do the layout, and do all the the BMI, get everything copywritten, because this is pretty much like my own solo project. Like, my guys, they've done the music, but they don't share it. Like, they don't have, like, two of the guys don't have social media, and the other one doesn't really use it. I'm the only one that really uses it. Because of my type of work anyways, I'm always online. And so definitely a labor of love. And one of the best things about it, two great things about it is that, three great things about it is, one, through all of this, I actually able to play drums now, which is great. Very honored to be able to do that. And I thank the Harriman brothers for, once again, being so patient with me to learn how to play drums. Like, in my mid-30s when I'm learning how to play drums. And so, it's very exciting. And two, I'm able to give back to the world of music, which I've loved my entire life. And three, anything ever happens to any one of us, like, it's recorded, we all have kids, except the bass player, but the rest of us have kids. So I think when something happens to us, at least our kids can have, something tangible that, hey, is our dad, especially when they get older. We're all real small right now, but I'm a weird fantasy in my head, like, when our kids become like teenagers and when they understand like how cool music is. Right now they're little, they want to play video games and stuff, that they'll be like, hey, yeah, my dad, our dads, they had a cool band back in, 2020, whatever it's going to be called, the 2020s. And so, yeah, and then and then I always have, like say, if I die tomorrow, at least Mikey and Pollywog can always listen to, oh, here's Tony's stuff, or vice versa. If anything happens to Mikey and Pollywog, I can always, there's something tangible now that they'll never be forgotten. So I think it's pretty powerful. Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Yeah, and also going through the process, the amount of respect I have for every band or any artist that actually recorded an album. Hats off. It's been definitely the most difficult thing, next to college, has been the most difficult thing for me to accomplish. For sure.
Congratulations. I was going to say, I can actually relate to you saying that COVID was a blessing for you in a way, but for me it was too. I met the woman of my dreams, so I nearly shout out, for that.
Yeah. Well,
that's
I think it's, for anybody that's creative, I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Only people I see that's really struggling are people that had like their jobs, like in the service industry and stuff like that. Bartenders, waitresses, and stuff like that, chefs and all. And my heart definitely goes out to them. But I think through all this COVID, that you just have to kind of shift what's important and kind of adapt to it, really. But this lifestyle I've been doing, it's been the opposite for me, because I've always been struggling through it, because being an artist is not definitely the easiest job to be doing, and especially when you're working with metal bands. So I'm already putting myself at a double negative. But because of all this, I think more bands and more people that are creative are sitting at home making more stuff, making more content now. So when the world does open back up, I think all of us will have so much more to offer. For me personally, I have, some t-shirt designs I already have printed out. I got my whole booth, I have that all kind of revamped and re-updated now. Like I said, I'm just going to be getting some CDs pressed for my band, but I'm not too sure like how like the CD market is these days. But I know it's streaming on all social media, or not all social media, but like any streaming platform, it's available. So which is pretty fun. It's pretty fun to like talk to Alexa and just bring up my band, which is just like one of the coolest feelings ever. So, but yeah, like I say, for me, it's been a breather. I can actually catch up on a lot of personal projects for me this pandemic, so I'm grateful for that.
Who would you say musically influences you guys?
Well, for me personally, okay, so there's a group called the Black Keys. I'm a huge fan. I've been a big fan of those guys for since 2003, 2004. They have when I was listening to them, say I've always into metal, right? And their drummers and all these bands are so good. It was always like, I can never be that. I can never be that good. I can never do that. And once I heard the Black Keys, I broke it down, and I was able to listen to the drum and the grooves of it. I was like, oh, I can do that. I could definitely do that. So that's what gave me the confidence to be able to play in a band. And then I would just listen to a lot of Black Keys. I would listen to like Ray Charles. I love Black Crowes. I love Steve Gorman for drumming style, but I love all genres of music. But I think as drummers go, those big influences on me. But I think for Mikey and Pollywog, Chili Peppers, Sublime for sure is a big influence. The Beatles they're big fans of the Beatles, but they all have their own musical tastes, and I think we all do. But which I think is nice, that there's a lot of eclectic feedback into our music. We're not, I say funky rock goodness, but we don't play just all funky rock songs. Some songs have a little more country vibe. Some songs have more of a punk vibe. Some songs have more just a straight rock and roll vibe. And at the Beat of my guys, we I love so much, so many different styles of music. That's why we keep throwing it into what we do, because all of us would get bored playing the same thing. And we're all on the same page on that, which is another blessing with these guys. And, but yeah, you know, I mean, we all like the groove and the funk and the soul to everything, you know, personally. Yeah, my two guys would have maybe their own perspectives on it. But from us just coming together, you know, like I'm able to throw like double bass in our music and just to help with the groove. And because we haven't had a bass player for so long, my drumming style usually goes with our vocal patterns. So I don't know if anybody would ever notice that, but yeah, for a long time we never had a bass player. So, you know, every time that they would sing, I'll pretty much follow along to their vocal patterns just to make it a little different. But we all love music. We all love a big, wide variety of music. We're big fans, you know. And like I say, it's so nice to be able to contribute back into the whole spherical encompassment of all the music out there now. I know there's whatever 60,000 new songs that keep popping up, but at least we can contribute to it too, which is pretty fun.
That's really cool, man. That's really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. I remember when I first talked to you and you were telling me about that you were starting fishing for Neptune and stuff, and I was asking you about your artwork, you know, and how many different
Yeah.
bands you had helped out.
Yeah. Well, the cover on this one is okay. So the album cover, the reason why it's painted like that is a few reasons. One is that when I was in high school with Mikey, we had an art class, and before I knew how to really paint, I used to do watercolor paintings because they provided watercolor paints at the school I was at. So I loved it. I just fell in love with watercolors. And it wasn't until like later, you know, until college, I got into like acrylic and then oils. And then, you know, obviously I do a lot of my work digitally. So I wanted to bring that style back, and it's like it pays homage to like Mikey and I's like history in high school. And then we're kind of a fun cartoon. If you ever met Mikey and Pollywog, like especially Mikey, he's a living cartoon character, and I say that in the most loving, beautiful way. He is just just has a beautiful heart, beautiful spirit, very light. You know, he's a lot of light. So I don't want my covers like emulating. We're not a metal band at all. We have really no metal other than me being a metal influence guy. Like say I'll throw some blast beats or one-handed rolls here and there in a couple of our songs or double bass. But that's it. Like you'd never listen to any of our songs and think metal at any point in time. But I think if anybody was to stumble upon us, that you know, I think we're a hidden treasure, and that's why like if you look at the covers, that there's a big third eye octopus kind of holding onto the treasure chest that has a bunch of records in it, and then the mermaid actually grabbed one of it. So I personally feel that if anybody was, you know, because to only be able to find my band, it would either be you're a fan of me, or you just somehow Spotify or YouTube or someone suggested that you would find our music, and then think if the right person does find it, they would truly feel that it's a treasured album just for them. Because I've done that myself. I've gone and I've picked up albums, and I was just like, oh my god, now okay, let me rewind. I still like to go to thrift stores and dig through the CDs because they're only $1. And so what I end up doing, I raffle through, I look at the covers, I'm like, oh, these covers are cool. And then I try to find them on YouTube. And I have to listen to a couple, like 30 seconds or so. I'm like, all right, this sounds cool to me. You know, for me, the dollar is the experience of the full album. So in doing that, I feel like I'm digging for treasure, right? Because I don't have any other type of collections. Other than like collecting art supplies and music equipment. CDs pretty much my only, music's my really only collection. I don't collect like toys. I don't collect DVDs. I don't collect cars. I don't have a budget to collect cars, nothing. But, you know, I don't have that type of collection. But there's been some bands that if it wasn't for me digging through, I would have found them. My friends would never listen to this style of music or whatever. So I personally feel like, oh, this is a treasure. Like I had to literally dig through hundreds of these CDs to find like these treasures. So that's what I feel like that is for our music. That's why the cover looks like that. Oh, I think you're on mute. I can't hear you, or unless I hit some button. I don't think so. No. Is it going?
It's my microphone. It
Oh,
likes to cut out a lot.
no worries.
Yeah.
No worries. So yeah,
Yeah, that's cool, man.
explains the cover too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty psychedelic if you look at it that way.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be bright because, like I said, I want to reflect our music. You know, I think we're bright, airy, and bubbly at some points, but then some of the lyrics definitely deal with heartbreak. And I didn't really realize that until I was doing the layout, and they're giving me all the lyrics. I was actually able to read because as I play drum, I'm just trying to be on time. When I play drums, I can hear some of the songs. I've heard them 1,000 times, but it's not until you really read the lyrics into what they're saying. Because sometimes they're singing so fast I can't pick up what they're saying, and I never really asked. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I just know what song we're playing. Oh, cool. I know my parts.
Right.
But yeah, and Mikey, he's really big into like stories. We have a fun song called H2O, and talks about him being on an island with pirates, and he's definitely fun spirit. And Pollywog, his younger brother, which is vocals and plays guitars too. I call him Smooth Operator. He always holds down our band. He's the one that throws like very soulful leads. He has a very great ear for texture in music. I know his songs are a little on the darker vibe, which is fine. I think once again, when you have the two brothers mixed together, Pollywog's to me more technical and darker, and Mikey's he's more loose and light. And I think it makes for a beautiful combo, and their harmonies are always really fun. And yeah, there's just some talented guys, man. I'm truly blessed to be in a band with these guys. And I'm the biggest fan because it wasn't for me, they wouldn't even have an album, because I'm like, you guys, your music is so good. I don't understand why you were not pushing to make this happen. So I've just been dragging them along to, I'm ready to do another album, but,
Well, I'll tell you, Tony, you may be the first. I'll be the second because I know you.
Yeah. So it's good, man. And like I said, I'm grateful to finally have it out to share it with people, because anybody that's known me for a long time, they know I've been working on this for well over a decade. And so it's almost like a big relief. It's like, cool. I could stop talking about it. It's finally here. I feel like an idiot after a few years, you just feel stupid about talking about it. You're like, oh yeah, well, it's the problem about being in a band. It's like, well, I have to wait for everybody else. It's not just me. That's why I understand why so many bands just are themselves. They just write all the music, hire some people to do it, bang it out onto the next. Once again, I learned so much through this whole process of like, why certain drum, especially in death metal, like, there's one man bands or one person bands, because like, hey, you can't find somebody that is dedicated, that would want to play all the time, and just be on the same page. So
yeah, I had a lot of fun jamming on it last night, and I was just like, oh, this has so many different twists and turns. So it just really made your mind think for a while. Like, okay, am I swimming in the water? Am I going to an island? Where am I going?
Yeah.
Where's this going?
Yeah.
It keeps the listener thinking, it just keeps you thinking, kind of like the mouse hamster wheel thing going in your head.
Oh, well, that's good. My guys will definitely love to hear about that. Yeah, like I say, we're just love music, and it's been a nice thing about the recording process too for me as well, because when you play it live, it's one thing, but when you're able to then go into the studio, and I was able to really witness like their genius, because I would come back, because my thing is, all right, I play the drums. Okay, does it sound good? Okay, cool. Then Patrick comes in, does the bass. There's obviously there's a scratch guitar and vocals with a click. That's what we practice. That's what I practice too. When I go into the studio, I lay down my stuff, clean up my drums a little bit. Patrick drops his bass, and then the magic goes with these guys, and they start layering all these guitars and the vocals. So when I come back later on, I'm like, dude, I never heard the song with like this tone to it, or they're adding extra stuff. I'm like, oh, this is going to be really, really cool. They actually had their sister come sing some vocals on I think Rain. They had their whole family is very musical. Their dad's extremely musical as well. So he came and played keyboards on a song called Music Notes. Yeah, so it's definitely a family affair, which has been great. Like I said, it's just to us, this album, it took so long to do. We have so much more new music. I'm like, oh my God, I really hope my guys would like to be on the same page to make another album sooner than later. I don't want to wait another 12 years to do this. I'll be dead probably by that time. So hopefully we can, get everything, all our ducks in a row to do it again. Because I'm definitely ready.
Yeah, that brings me to my next question. Was there any song in particular that you found to be your personal favorite or the most difficult to write, and why?
On the album, it's so funny. That's a great question. Well, the first song I ever wrote drums to was a song called Music Notes. So that'll always have a personal love for me, because that's like the first song I ever wrote drums to, and so I get excited about that one. So Music Notes probably the first one. But I love all our jams. Every single. And another beauty about it too is that I was coming at this as an artist, not as a drummer, because I treat them as like pieces of art. So they all have to, I want them to all be different. I want all the, the beats and everything have their own distinct sound. And once again, we changed out different snares for a lot of the songs, sometimes different kits, just because each song, I don't want each song to sound the same either. I physically don't want it to sound the same. I don't want the kicks to sound the same on each song. Same with the snares, same with the cymbals. We use different cymbals. But all the toms are pretty much the same because it's easier to mic up. The first song, Longfish, is a funny story on that one, because when we were recording, I was recording other songs and I wasn't getting it. Like certain songs, it just wasn't clicking. And they're like, hey, and then we had, like I said, we had a list of songs that had to get recorded. And so I don't remember a song I was working on, but I just wasn't nailing it. I was getting really frustrated. And so they're like, hey, let's just do Longfish. I'm like, okay. And I wasn't even really thinking about it. Like I was just kind of having fun. I'm like, okay. I wasn't even thinking that they're going to keep anything I was doing. It was more of just kind of cleaning my mental palette, just so I can go back to the song, the song I was working on, just to, maybe get us a little better groove. And so, so Longfish, all of that, that not saying all the beats and stuff that weren't intentional, but I was doing a little extra stuff in there because I wasn't really taking it serious. I was just kind of having more fun with it. I'm like, okay, cool. We're just going to finish the song. And then once again, I was more, my mind was on the last song because it was getting me upset. I couldn't get it. And so Longfish came out amazing because I was so stressed on it. I wasn't even thinking about it. And then the song In the Dirt, I'm really happy about because I recorded those drums all live and no editing. So very proud of that song. And then, I don't know, I mean, I think Rolling Boulder, there's a lot of changes in that. And then just the interesting thing about recording under a microscope, I feel like with the metronome in the studio, you can really hear like how bad you really are. Like, oh my God, I need so much more practice. It just gets me nervous because once again, in the other room is my band members and, the engineer and they're very patient with me because I'm really hard on myself. But they're very great. But once I kind of got used to just recording in the studio, it didn't bother me as much. I'm like, just kick I just want the click super high in my headphones. I want to hear that more than anything else because I want the click just to be like just going through my body. I just want it boom, 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 whatever the BPM is. I don't even want to hear my drums, really, truly, because I just want it because I don't want to mess up, right? I want to be right on the money. Because the tighter I can be, the less work and less money in the future to then edit all my drums. Maybe with some small editing. And what we ended up doing, we just record the songs. And I took the 3 best tracks, whatever it was, that we all felt really good about. And then if there's any editing, we just do some so we started with like 80 to 90% of the song, and then we might like take a couple little chunks here and there and just drop it in there just to kind of keep the project moving forward, because there's so many layers in our music. It's not just guitar, bass, singing, drums. There's literally a lot of bells and whistles into it, and a lot of layering with guitars, and they really practice, experimenting with different amps. And once again, we had our own studio, so we weren't in a big rush to get things done, which is a good and a bad thing. I feel like deadlines are extremely important to me. That's the only way I can get stuff done personally. But I think the whole process was challenging. I think one of the hardest songs to me is the last song, was Many People, that has a lot of the things that I was doing. And it's hard to remember like what you're doing as well too, So for me, like when I'm practicing a song, they give me a song with a click track, like I just religiously play it over and over and over and over and over again, just so it's just ingrained in my mind, in my soul. Like, all right, so when I go to record, this is what I'm going to do, because I've spent hundreds of hours trying to figure this out, and make sure that I'm not repeating the same patterns and beats that I did in previous songs. So I feel like if something is being recycled, I have to rethink that and experiment with something different, and which has been a fun challenge. And once again, hats off to all these badasses out there. These are great musicians. So like I say, I just spent just a little bit of my life just trying to master it, and these people spent their entire lives doing it. So hats off to everybody. That kicks ass, because it's a lot of work, man. It's definitely a lot of work. Like I say, if it wasn't for the labor of love, and I love these guys so much, this project would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd like to tell everybody that don't know this. Tony had just come out with this label design for a new beer that's there.
Oh yeah.
What else can you tell me about that? What more can you tell me?
Oh, okay. So Bob, my buddy Bob, I do live art, a lot of festivals, right? And so this one was called, this festival specifically was the Apollo Gathering, I think is what it was called, something like that. So I went out there. It was a small festival, and at the moment when that festival was going off, it was really windy, super windy. It was somewhere, in Central California, and a lot of people left. So there was just a core of us that got together, and we just kind of hung out and just kind of waited out the wind and everything. And so I got to be good friends with the guy that was running it, which is Bob. And a few years later, we kept in contact, and his girlfriend, I believe, is allergic to gluten. So they made a gluten-free beer. And at that time, there's only a few places that really had it. I know some places in Oregon, Northern California. And so it kind of started that way. He's like, hey, I want to do a beer label. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. You're going to give my prices. This is what we're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. And so I think this is like my fourth one. So I just finished this one. It's it's called Pixel Haze or something like that, or Particle Haze. That's what it's called. So as a freelancer, I do all different styles. I don't just do album covers. I'll do murals. I do logos, t-shirt designs for festivals, and whatever. Portraits if people want portraits. I do a lot of leather work for people. Like I make harnesses. I do kinky stuff like for like BDSM community. I do some stuff for that. Whatever it takes, man. I mean, living in Southern California, being an artist, it's like you kind of have to play a bunch of different hats, because once again, like when you're a freelance illustrator and your clientele and your competitions worldwide, a lot of people can shop around and find other phenomenal artists in other regions of the world that's a lot cheaper. Like, if you're going to be going to Russia, the Philippines, Mexico, even Canada, Malaysia, other parts, China, India, there's a bunch of amazing artists all around. So to me, I feel like it's getting harder and harder to do album covers for bands. So I have to supplement my income doing other things, sadly, but that's just kind of how it goes, So that beer label, my buddy Bob, he just every every year or so, he just hits me up, say, hey, we got a new beer. This is what we're thinking. Here's our color schemes. Here's the flavors of it. This is kind of what we're going for. And then they give me, they just give me the description. I send them, they give me a deposit. I send them some thumbnails. They pick and choose parts of the thumbnails that they like. Like on this one in particular, they liked the pose, but on another sketch I had one for pointing up and say, hey, we like what I think was number 6, but if you can do the finger pose at number 3, I'm like, cool. Did another thumbnail, sent it off, great, approved it, and then just started rendering it. Already knew the color scheme that they wanted, and then just a couple of fixes, and then once they liked it, send me another deposit, and I send them the full res file, and that's kind of how I do my business. I kind of keep it real simple. I have a lot of I'm usually working on like 5 or 6 projects at once, so I like it simple. I don't like it very complex. I don't have the bandwidth to keep a lot of things going on at the same time. So yeah, so these guys are great. Big shout out to Bob and his crew. Making like organic and gluten-free beers. It's fun, yeah, because now I can say I have a collection of beer labels I've done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you who like beer, check out Tony's lineup.
Yeah, you should check him out. Yeah, I don't drink anymore, but when I did drink, in the beginning of this, he was letting me try all the different flavors, and it was cool. It's fun to see people, especially Bob, to the start of the idea, because he was just starting out before he was doing, and to where he's at now, how it's grown and bloomed in, and I'm very happy and proud of the guy. And like I say, he has a crew now to kind of help him do all this, because it's hard. It's hard to do anything by yourself, right? You need a crew of people to push it forward.
Exactly. That's what makes it come together and makes it just prosper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say, man, I just try to do what I can to, keep the lights on. So I'll do anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, thanks for your time, Tony. You have any last words for Underground Noise at all?
Oh, well, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. If you guys are into cool artwork, or dark artwork or third eye type of stuff, you can go to my website called sketchthesoul.com. And if you want to check out my band's music, my band's called Fishing for Neptune. You can go to fishingforneptune.com, or you can just go to any streaming platform and listen to it. And I should probably within the month or so, we'll have physical copies of it. So I'll have that up for package deals, and we got t-shirts printed, and so I'll probably do some other fun stuff, because we're probably going to print like 500. We're not a big band, we don't have a huge following, but I think 500 would be okay. And then later on, see how that works out, maybe get some tapes. But eventually, I want to get, personally, as part of my personal bucket list, is get it on vinyl. And that'd be really cool. So yeah, if you're interested in any of my guys' stuff, Sketch the Soul for the artwork, or Dress the Soul for leather work, and Fishing for Neptune's my band stuff. So check it out. If you want me to be able to help you with your projects, just hit me up, and then we'll go from there.
Get hooked, everybody.
Get hooked, guys. All right, brother. Well, thank you very much. And until next time.
I appreciate it, Tony.
All right, brother.
Thanks very much, buddy.
All right. I think that's it on this.